professional sports team on a weekly basis, getting involved with the best and brightest of its community to speak about issues that affect us, especially in our Black community. You know, so I thank you and many others who've participated so far. We started with one of our new players, second baseman for the A's, good brother. And then we had a conversation last week with Shayla from Oakland and Tiffany. And, you know, now it's you. And it gets better every week. Everybody's been amazing. I just want to acknowledge you for, you know, representing the town, your work, and in your career and your craft, and say we appreciate you, my brother. Yeah,
I'm
man.
looking forward to this
you're my
conversation.
namesake. Man, you've been on my mind for so long in
I
terms
know,
of
right? Me too.
wanting,
Likewise.
you know, I hear about you. When I lived in LA, people used to think I was you, you know.
Right.
Say,
And
"Who are
people,
you?"
and people just think I was you. They'd be like, Taj? I'm like, yeah. They'd be like, show me? I'd be
Yeah,
like, no,
yeah.
Stansberry. You know what I'm
Man,
saying?
so it's all love, man.
Yeah, it
It's all
is.
love. I'm glad you do it. Even just the whole promo situation leading up to today. I mean, I have people on IG hit me up. You know, like Dwight Elder was hitting me up. You know, he works with Future
Yeah.
at this house. So shout out to Dwight and everybody who's been
Yeah,
showing
shout out to
love.
Dwight for sure. Shooter. I love
Yeah,
him,
yeah.
man. He's a kid.
Shooter, my guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, look, tell us a little bit about you and your background. I mean, obviously you have deep roots to the give us some information about your family, your background, how you got started in entertainment, you know, for everybody out here
Absolutely.
tuning in.
Actually, I left from LA when I was 8 years old and moved to East Oakland. My mother fallen in love and we moved back, and she was a young mom, so she didn't really know how to take me
Yeah,
in. So she said we were going on, and I never came back to LA, you know what I'm saying, until I was
yeah,
26. And so we moved to East Oakland, and it was like culture shock. It was like
right,
I came to East Oakland. I moved to Maxwell Park, you know, in between like 55th and High Street,
right,
and it was Raider
right.
Nation, it was A's this, it was Too Short that, it was talking different, and I had to catch on quick, man. But they embraced me. Oakland embraced me. It was a place that was like, man, where are you from? Oh, we'll get you in shape. Take this hat off. You're gonna put this on. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do, you know what I'm saying? Like I was putting clothes on, putting new hats on. I was like, I guess I'm from Oakland. Yeah, you gotta talk like this though, man. You talk funny. Da, da, da. And it was like I had to like adapt really fast, but the
Right.
culture was rich. It was so rich that I wanted to be a part of it. And I wrote this book called Turbulence a few years ago, and in that book I described meeting my stepfather, who got me in shape and got me ready for the exterior world outside those doors. He's like, look, this is how it's going to be. This is not, because I came from like Beverly Hills, you know what I'm saying? And it was like it was it was insane, man. But I learned so much. I was given a lot of freedom at a young age to explore, um, but I was all disciplined too. I was given a lot of discipline too, and so I got to see all sides of the world. Like once I started to be able to ride BART by myself, I'm everywhere, man. Zooming, camera, and I was always wishing I could take photos of these things that I saw, and so I started doing that. And from there, it led to me wanting to see the images move like kind of fast too. And from there, next thing I know, I was shooting music videos, and then I got this phone call that took me international. And there was a phone call, basically from Rihanna, you know, saying, "Hey, I want you." You know, we want you. My mentor at the time, Anthony Mandler, he just fast tracked me and threw me in the fire. I felt like my entire life, even from moving from LA to Oakland, Oakland coming back to LA, I was always thrown into the fire, but I was always ready. So
That's dope.
yeah,
That's dope, man. So what would you tell an aspiring director or photographer, you know, trying to get in the game from a community like Oakland or LA, and you know, especially from your background and how your career has blossomed? What are some tips, game insights you would give to a young creator, you know, out there trying to hustle right now?
right. Well, I would say, you know, you want to get better. You want to get better. You want to learn yourself, and so there's a big difference. But there seems to be a big difference between going out and working and creating work for yourself so that you can get better, creating work where you can work on your craft, and paid. And the thing is that you want to work on your portfolio. You want to blur the lines between the work that you're not getting paid practicing and the work that you're getting paid for, so that your body of work can be better. We can understand who you are, and you need to create work for yourself. You need to create that narrative. Get some things together. Go and get people that you go to school with and create it. Write little scripts. Write scenarios. Do anything that you can. Go grab a Dorito bag from down the store. Go shoot a Doritos commercial. Do whatever you can to get better. And critique yourself. Be honest with yourself. Keep honest people around you. Let everyone know that doesn't help me. And if you say that everything's good, it doesn't help me if you not. Let me know what you think can be. You want that constructive criticism. You want to break that layer about yourself where you are sensitive to criticism. It's the only way that you're going to get better. So everything that you do should be for the outside world as a creative. I call it the number 2 rule. Doing this is the rule is be number 2. Make the world number 1, right? And if you make yourself number 2, everyone will look at you as if you're number 1. You know what I mean? And that just means that you have to be selfless. You have to be selfless in what you're doing and take on that responsibility that you're putting something out into the world. You have the ability to put these. You have the ability to put these things out into the world. So you continue to do that. I have a 2-year-old.
Oh,
Mom,
okay.
Mom, I appreciate it. Thanks.
It's all good.
Sorry, guys. I have a 2-year-old. He just get out the bath.
I have to send my kids outside, man. So listen, I understand. I told him, like, listen, Daddy's gonna be busy outside and play.
No, not right there.
No, it's all good, man. No, it's dad life. It's dad life, Trust me. I got it too. Well, I mean, look, I think this conversation, man, is there's so many areas of discussion that I want to have with you. And this series is really centered around our current zeitgeist, what's going on in Black culture, Black community, and specifically our community of Oakland, and making sure that we're bringing our talent back to have a dialogue and to see how we can really make change, make progress, right? And, I wanted to ask you, not only from your creative side, but just from your consciousness, where are you right now in terms of how are you, what's going on in the world, and how is that going to transform your art if it hasn't already? And where would you like to see things go from here in terms of, work in the community, your work with other artists? What are you being inspired to do right now in terms of what you see?
I mean, my job is to tell the truth. My job is to tell the truth. How I feel, when everything when I first started happening, but like when the protests first started happening, I was like right in the thick of it in LA. And I took a walk one morning. I think it was after the first started protesting, and I was looking around, and my feelings were hurt. And I felt like, I'm gonna be honest, is like, I've never waken up in the morning and that I mattered. And I know that I matter. I know that I'm more than matter. I have extremely huge dreams. Every time I speak to schools, every time that I speak to young Black men, anytime I try to build them up and let them know that you can do whatever it is that you want to do. It's important for them to be able to relate to me. Even when I go on set, I bring young Black men on set all the time. Hey, come on set. I want you to see how this goes. And I want to make sure that they understand I'm just like it. There's nothing different. You can do this. You can do this, man. Like, you can really do this. You can do whatever it is that you want. I always tell them about the code, about breaking the code. And the code is that they want you to think that you can't. They want you to think that it's hard. They want you to think, like, I even told them the 10,000 hours that you got to put in, all that stuff, man. That's smoke and mirrors, man. You can do whatever you want. Whatever you can do, you can go and you can do it. And I continue to drive that narrative from my seat, from where I am. I've been sitting back, work that I can do, and obviously my industry is slightly shut down right now. So shooting has been a little bit hard, and doing things it's been a little bit hard. And I still have my brain on what are the things that I can do when we do come back out of this pandemic. but honestly, I'm just gonna continue to spread the word, continue to spread the word, continue to do my job, and continue to just, I don't know, to motivate. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity. I'm looking forward to the world opening back up, so that I actually can. So yeah.
No, that's what's up, man. So thinking about the pandemic, you know, what's going on right now. As you mentioned, the
Yeah.
industry's affected. All what are you doing right now? How are you spending your time? You know, what are you investing in at the crib, or you know, how are you taking advantage of this time? You know, for yourself.
Um, Really, I've just been like getting my portfolio together. It's been something that I always do, like every other year, sometimes every 2 years. So I'm just organizing my business, looking for representation, commercial representation, just basically checking off the boxes for everything, all my artwork, getting my show together. I have a show that was supposed to be this past April, but we're on lockdown, or quarantine. But I have a show at the Sofitel coming up, when we're okay, when we're healthy. And so I've been getting work for that and creating work for. I have some work that I created that's based on going on. I actually did a piece as well that I posted on my Instagram, that I wish I probably wouldn't have, because Instagram only gives you so much space and large. But I did a piece that I posted on my Instagram. I'm probably going to archive it so that when people see it again, it's nice. It's massive, and it's a centerpiece of my show. And so yeah, I've just been creating. I've been creating and just following my heart, and asking myself questions, and then trying to develop those questions and those theories into art.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Well,
And my mom's here. My mom is here with my son. She came down to watch my son and to spend some time with him while I can get some of those things together. He's 2 years old, and he's not a terrible two, but he's a two. So
100%. So help me understand, as we talk about Oakland and just transition back to Oakland a little bit. You know, what are you hearing up here? You know, when you talk to your people that are in this area, what are they telling you? How are you reacting to what you've heard about things taking place, you know, here in the town, as it relates to, you know, not only the protests, but just our cultural sort of community, right, around Black people, and how we've been impacted not only recently, but you know, since you were 8 when you moved up here, and how this community has changed. You know, what have you picked up in terms of your reaction, and how we can really preserve that cultural community of Oakland that kind of has like that, you know, you can't fake it, right?
well, I
You know,
came
you either
home.
you know it or you don't.
I came home one time, and I was in West Oakland. I went to West Oakland. I forgot the name of the restaurant, but I went to get some breakfast in West Oakland, and I noticed that they were just laying on their lawns and sitting out on the lawns. And I had heard about gentrification, and I saw what was going on, and it kind of scared me, because I was like, well, I'm used to West Oakland being a place where I go and I see my people everywhere. And now I was like, well, if they're not in West Oakland, my people aren't in West Oakland, then where are they going? To the city? Like, where are my people going? Because if they're being moved out, in what direction is it? And I look further west, and I see San Francisco. I know they're not going to San Francisco. It's too expensive. But I'm like, where are they going? So I'm hearing they're going to other places that honestly don't have cultures. You know, they don't have these history to be proud of, and to be a part of. So then I start thinking about their children, and I'm like, well, what are their children going to be raised on? And what are they going to know? What are they going to be? What are they going to have a chance to be a part of? And that's scary. That's really scary. And so, you know, I was talking to my boy Rick, and I said, "Yo, what's up, man?" He was like, "Man, you need to come home. You need to come home. You know, they need to come home to stuff in the community." And he was just straight up about it. That's what he said. And so I was like, okay. So I will be coming home. Be coming home soon. Live here. My business is here. Everything is here. So I have to get things together here. before I can come there. But I'll be home soon.
No, that's what's up, man. We need you. We need all of our talent, to be present. And that's what we're trying to do with this conversation series is tap in, tap in with people, not only athletes and entertainers and, politicians, but we want to tap into the fabric of the community and make sure your voices are heard because, the A's are the town's team now, right? So as that civic asset of pride, if you will, I think that's the moniker of Richmond, pride and purpose, but it's all Bay Area love. I mean, we want to make sure that we're representing the culture to the fullest and giving you our platform, to make sure we can share your experience and educate our audiences and get them to know you and others as well that may have not heard of you, right? Or heard of me.
Mm-hmm.
What we can do, I think is educate, educate people about, what it is to be an American male, working in entertainment and creating a legacy, right, for yourself and your family. So help us understand, man, your journey to this point. What have you had to deal with in business to really create, this brand that you have today? And also talk to us about, I know you did a show up here at a gallery in Oakland last year. Talk to us a little bit about that experience as well. And I know it was a body of work that you presented. So tell us a little bit more about, what is like that's so tense in Hollywood when we're fighting for respect, and what that was like to bring that experience back home last year with your show, with your gallery show.
That meant everything to me. Honestly, I was nervous. I was nervous because I've done shows before, but coming back home, it's like your home. It's like homecoming. It's like homecoming. It's like, yo, it has to hit. I want to make sure that everybody, I wanted to make sure that, people from elementary school, junior high, high school, Laney, everybody I've ever met, like I wanted that whole group to be there, and I wanted them to really feel the journey, and sometimes when you're inside of your own project, you can see things the way that you see them, but is it going to translate like that? Is that how it's going to read? How it reads is extremely important, right? And so I was nervous, and I was telling my mom, it really helped me out with the show. It's like, yo, this really has to read. What about pieces last minute? I'm getting pieces printed last minute, and then I just realized it was all good, man. People didn't just come to see the work; they came to see you and celebrate. And I realized almost anything could have really been on the wall. It was one piece that people really gravitated to, and it was called Dear Oakland. And it was a collage of the things that we remember about Oakland, right? Very staple things, Mexicali Rose and the night shows, and Oakland, like the lit up Oakland Tribune, and Ricky Henderson holding up 939, and the AC Transit old school 57 bus, and it was just things that made us feel good, and it was just, and the piece was the smallest piece, man. It was the smallest piece, and printing it kind of small because I wanted people to be able to gather around it and really soak it in, and it had me in tears, man. I just believe. I mean, my old landlord came. I think I still owe her $300. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It was like it's a beautiful thing, man. It was a beautiful thing, and it was just happy. I was just happy to see people and hug people and just feel that. I mean, people even came dressed in A's. People came dressed. I thought it was a coincidence. I was like, oh, that's what they did. This one came dressed in the A's gear, A's sweat hoodies, A's jerseys, and I just felt proud that this was their show. It was my show. This is their show, and so I learned something. And I couldn't even sleep that whole night. I was just had a smile on my face. I couldn't even sleep, man.
That's
amazing.
Dope. Well, we got to get you to do another show, man. Like, it would be great to collaborate with you and try and do something, because one of the things we do is we try and showcase, through whether it's at the stadium, obviously once we can resume some normalcy, we can showcase art, have, different opportunities to exhibit pieces and things of that nature. That'd be great to just bring more community, into the space, and also, things that we can partner with just outside of the ballpark, right? So I definitely wanted to make sure we talked about in ways that we can support you, and you know, us the Taj versus Taj. I mean, it's so. I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to lift you up. You know, lift up our whole thing, man. When I also look at this whole kind of pendulum, you know, in culture, I wanted to think with you around if you were to do a project about Oakland, tell me like visually, what would that look like? If you ever did a movie or
Right.
a documentary, or if you wanted to shoot a video here with a big artist, talk to me. What would you visualize that project, that illustration to look like?
Well,
You
it
know,
would
because
be
I know
called
you
Maxwell Park. It would be called
Maxwell Park.
Maxwell Park.
Dope,
Yeah.
dope.
That's where I'm from. I'm from Maxwell Park, and not because the whole entire film would take place, because it was kind of like Central East Oakland, and we were everywhere. We expanded. You know, I played at Brookdale Park, softball at Brookdale Park when I was a kid. I played at a Royal Park, you know, Babe Ruth baseball. I played Dynamites.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Played Babe Ruth.
That's right. You know,
I know.
I played Babe Ruth. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went to all the A's games, Dollar Wednesdays. I was like, we went everywhere. We traveled all about, but at the same time, things happened in our community. You know, inside our community, you know, a lot of people died. Some of my best friends died. There were a lot of mishaps, man. A lot of mishaps and things. Growing up in Maxwell Park, it was a kind of a tight knit community, but it was surrounded by violence. It was surrounded by drugs. It was surrounded by, I mean, now come to think of it, it was like between the ages of 13 and 17, you really realize, you really got to see who made what decisions, who went left and who went right. And it happened so quickly. It was like funeral after enough to go to funerals. And that was sad. But at the same time, we saw people thrive, people get scholarships. We saw people, you know what I'm saying, going to college, coming home with coming home, and they was doing it was, you know, in frats now, and you know what I'm saying, they pledged and they was proud of themselves and they was beaming, you know, and people became fathers, women became mothers, people got married. And I feel like in Maxwell Park, it being like this nucleus of Oakland, it was like you got to see everything. You got to see everything. So I was exposed to everything you can think of. And then thinking of the names Maxwell Park, it seems so light, seems so in between, like you don't know what you can get from a place called Maxwell Park. So I really wanted to tell that story, and really tell the story from the perspective of my best friend, one of my best friends. His name is Brandon Rowe, who is survivor, 3-time survivor of everything. He was and I know a lot of people know about this, but he was in the car when my friend, Deshaun, Devron, my friend Bear, all passed away up the Skyline Hills. He was the only survivor. He also survived his lungs collapsing twice. He also survived a bullet one time that wasn't even. He's just a survivor overall. He lived on a street called Best, which is on the top of the hill. So who got that story than him? So when I do come home, we're gonna sit down. He's gonna record. We're gonna just record him for hours and let him narrate when I write that script.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Yeah,
everybody knows that now. There you go.
You heard it first. You heard it first.
Yeah.
Here, conversation about race with the A's. No, I mean that's important, man. That need to be told. You know, from this community, from this town, and from the people who make the town what it is. And you know, one of the things that I want to do, you know, with you, and I mean, I think I asked you a while ago if you have connected with Ryan Coogler. And I mean, if you haven't, you guys need to connect. You know, we got to figure out how to bridge all this talent together. I mean, whether that means we're working on projects or just in conversation with each other, you know, around what could happen, right? And really start to program things, right? Because, you know, in the future, the A's obviously are trying to build a new ballpark in Oakland. The Coliseum, you know, is going to be redeveloped. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities to think about, well, what could be, right, in East Oakland?
Right.
What kind of things should we have here? Should we have a movie studio? Should we have, you know, a creative arts sort of, you know, community, if you will. And we need to bring in people like yourselves to hear from you, to hear about, what do you want to leave behind, right?
Right.
For the next generation, and how can we stories, and how do we give opportunities to our kids? Those are things I'm interested in doing, man. I want to showcase those moments and create legacy building opportunities, right? So showing kids the ropes. How do you become an executive, for a major league team? How do you become a musical artist? How do you become a director, right? And we need you. We need talent who's been successful to help edify that, help showcase that for these kids, community. So let me ask you another question. When we think about where we are, man, and Oakland's changed, as you mentioned, what do we do? What do we do to make sure we retain the culture as much as we can? But also, I asked Shayla this last week. How do we make organizations like the A's and Kaiser, like the big companies in the town, how do we make them a part of not only their businesses being successful, but also helping to influence the cultural aspects, right? To make sure there's retention of programs in schools, or making sure we're supporting local small businesses and the mom and pops, the corner stores, whatever that looks like. How do you think we help maintain that organic authenticity of Oakland?
In terms of bringing people closer to, bringing the younger generation, bringing them closer to their dreams, I always realize that the closer I can bring them to my job, the more responsibility I can give them and bring them closer to my job, the better. I've done workshops before that fell flat. I'm gonna be honest with you, that fell flat because they didn't get to see what it was actually like being on set. And then I remember one time I was watching the making of the Denzel movie that he was in, the one he won the Oscar for, where he played the cop, Training Day. And he was sitting kids in the community in the chairs and teaching them about the cameras and what was going on. You know what I'm saying? One of those kids works with me now. Right. And he was like, that was the day. He was like, man, from that day on, that's all I wanted to do. And it just made sense to me. It clicked to me. It's like, what can we do? What programs can we create where they're in the field? You know what I mean? Like responsibly, bring them into the field. And the closer they can get to that, the more responsibility they can feel. They want responsibilities, but they don't want to sit down the whole entire time. They don't want to be given these to do, because what's the steps beyond that? They don't feel like they can move from the workshop into the workforce. And they're not stupid. They're extremely intelligent, and they understand it. So you have to bring them closer to, like when we're on set, I'm like, hey, yo, come over here. What you think the next shot should be? And they're like, oh, work. Well, yeah. And I'm like, let's think about our lenses. Let's think about this. Let's think about the need to move forward, to feel as close to me as possible. That's the only way that it's going to feel possible, is if you can bring them as close to their dreams, as close to the working field as possible. And so that's what I do. And it's not a risk.
Right.
You have to find ways to do it in which you still can continue, but you still have to bring them closer. And so, from my standpoint, from where I am, that's what I try to do. I want to do it more so back home. I actually am an artist back home. I don't want to name who it is yet, but we're working on that right now, and we don't know if we're going to shoot it in Oakland or LA. I'm hoping that it's going to be in Oakland. Really hoping it's going to be in Oakland, so that I can invite you, and I can invite invite the 10 kids that I always invite to set. Bring them to set, and we can do that in Oakland and film that and show them what that looks like. So from that standpoint, from my standpoint, that's what I want to do, and that's how I've seen that it's been effective. I actually in Africa. I went to Africa years back, and I was determined. I just had those failed workshops where I felt like there wasn't really any breakthroughs, and I went to Africa, and I was determined to. MTV sent me, actually. I was determined to teach them in a way where they could actually learn where they wanted me to stay in the entire time, where they had the MTV everywhere, the Shell gas station logos everywhere. And I was there, and I was just, my heart was just pumping, just beating. And I was like, this is not how we learn. And I said, everybody stand up. I was like, come on, let's go outside. And they were like, no, you cannot do that. And I was like, no, let's go outside. grab your cameras, this and that. And I started teaching them about foreground. I could feel it. I was like, this is foreground. So you have to use everything around you. They wanted me to teach you how to shoot an American music video, but you're not in America. You're in Africa. So this is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to learn, right? Around you, right? Look at your environment. Remember things, right? Foreground is extremely important. It's what's in front of you, between you and the subject, and just further and further. I mean, I've had kids kids that go to Parsons from New York. I was on set shooting Ghostface Killer video, and they said, "Hey, you have a guest?" I showed up, and it was my day, and he was like, "Hey, Taj, I just want to let you know, man. Thank you for giving me the gift of sight. Just graduated. Can't move from Africa. The reason why I moved from Africa and came to America. I mean, had me in tears, man. It's like, yo, like the impact. It's like you just gotta keep it real with people, man. You gotta keep it real. You have to understand how I learned. I got learned by being thrown into the fire, right? And so I threw them into the fire. I threw everyone else into the fire. That's the best way to learn. To me, it's the only way to learn. It's the only way to motivate, is to get them as close to the craft as possible. And that's it, man. That's the way I learned. Maybe a little unorthodox, but it's the only way I know.
I'm glad you said that, because it's important to really hear, your truth and your journey, because that's ultimately what we want this whole conversation and these series of conversations to be about, right? Like, we're trying to cut through the minutia and get some breakthroughs around, not only what's happening with coronavirus, but we have 450 years, right, of confusion, right, and indirect communication that has led to not only the pandemic of coronavirus, but the pandemic of the African diaspora, right? And so, we're lost. Our community has been lost. And you mentioned earlier that, you grew up in Oakland at a time, and even still going on today, where not only is there police brutality, but there's also black on black brutality, right? And black on brown brutality, or vice versa. So what would you tell the people, watching, in terms of us being more responsible in our communities as well, to make sure that we're not tearing our communities up, we're not hurting each other, especially in Oakland and LA too, and all these major cities across the United States. What can we do to be responsible in our communities? Because I think that's a part of this Black Lives Matter movement that has not really been touched on. As much, there's a lot of protests right now. There's a lot of awareness around what we want the outside to do differently. But what can we do within our communities, you think, that would help, change not only the conditions, but the mindset, the internal aspects of what we need to do.
For our communities, you have to really hold your children accountable and not make it something that's an option. I think that even when I was growing up, being a part of the community, it was more like an option, cleaning up the community, making sure that it stayed clean community, talking to your children, educating them, showing them the results of what can happen when you go down this road versus going down that road. My stepfather was good at that. He sat me down and had this conversation with me when I was really young and said, this is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to see. I want to prepare you so that you're not shocked by it. I want to prepare you so that you know which way to go, and you don't make any decisions based out of something that you didn't know. But I'm telling you right now, you're going to see some of your friends fall behind the wayside. Some of them are going to die. Some of them are going to go to college. Some of them are going to get hooked on drugs. I'm never going to forget this conversation. I mean, I wrote it in my book. I was looking at him like, why is he telling me all these things? And then those things happened. When they did happen, I was able to sit back and I was like, oh, he told me this was going to happen, just like it was going to happen. And even though it was hard to hear, I was prepared for it. And I could sense it coming. And so it's really about being honest with your children, not coddling them, not keeping them away from it. It's like it's a part of our community, and then showing them like, this is the other side. This is who you can be. You know what I mean? I remember when I met the mayor. I was trying to try out for his baseball team. He was there. Maybe he was just there for the day. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But I remember I met Eliu Harris, and I was like, man, it's the mayor. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, baseball team, man, I want to play. And it was just like, yeah, this is the man. And I remember when my father, squeezed me through a crowd to meet Joe Morgan during the World Series. My father had pulled me out of school and was like, boy, you in trouble. Come home right now. And I was like, oh, man, what did I do? And I came home. He threw me. I was like, I'm taking you somewhere. And when I take you there, you better not lie. And when I got to where we went, he throws his paper bag at me. I opened it up, and it's a World Series jacket.
Wow.
And he's like, come on, we're going to the World Series. It was a big trick. You know what I'm saying? So, but he also drove me through the hood in the station wagon. He was like, you see that? You see that right there? That's called a dope fiend. That's what happens when you're on drugs. You know what I'm saying? He's using needles or he's using this. It's called crack cocaine, and this is that. This is what can happen. So he showed me I was able to see everything at a young age, and he would catch me off. He would catch me off guard. He would catch me by surprise and just take me in the car and just drive me around, drive me to the Oakland Hills. This is what you can have. You work hard. If you do this, you do that. And so I was able to see everything. Educate your children. Be honest with them. Show them. Don't just tell them. Show them what it looks like so that they know that it exists. It's one thing. It's another thing to actually show them for it to exist. It's burned into your brain. Everything we see is recorded into our brains.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so you want your children to be well-rounded. Show them everything. Show them everything, and let them know that it can exist. They can exist as they grow up. They'll start to take those roads that lead to better paths. And that's why I have my mother. I have my mother and my father to thank. My mother was a super hardworking mother, and was always honest with me as well. And she more so gave me empathy. To be empathetic and to see people's into not always look at self. I remember my car got broken into. Everything got stolen out of my car. This is when you put like your TVs in your car and everything. You know what I'm saying? Somebody broke into my car first birthday, and I came outside and I was all mad. Oh, my mom was like, poor baby. And I was like, I know, Mom, they broke into my car. She's like, I ain't talking about you. She's talking about the thief. You know what I'm saying? And so like I just remember that feeling that I had. She was like, imagine someone having 2 days before Christmas so that they can feed their family. You know what I'm saying? And I'll never forget that. Like I'll never forget those lessons.
That's real. Shout out to Elihu Harris. Those are my guys, man. I talked to Elihu Harris the other week.
For real?
He's like a man.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Same with Joe Morgan. Joe Morgan's man. He's a great brother and somebody I lean into and talk to a lot about what's going on with the A's and what's going on in Oakland and the community. So
Well, in 1990, a father asked Joe Morgan to take off his World Series ring so that I could wear it.
That's incredible.
And he was like, please, man, just for my son, man, please, just so you can wear it. And I put it on. It was too big. Right. It was too big, but I was just shocked that could even happen. I was just like, I'm never gonna forget it though. I'm almost 40 years old. I'll be 40 in December. That happened when I was 9, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the feeling.
I'll tell him you said what's up.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Remember it was 9 years old. It was about 1990. Your shoe shine. Kid came through.
Right on, man. No, but that's what people got to understand about Oakland, man. We have these people, these legends that we all got to at some point or another got to touch. Right. And have a memory or 2 or 3. I remember with Ricky Henderson. It's funny now I know him, but when I was a kid, I idolized Ricky Henderson. I remember screaming his name. When he was going to his car, I'm sitting out. I'm over the BART bridge to walk from Coliseum BART into the stadium. The players they used to park in Park K lot.
Right.
And, man, there was through the fence, and I saw Ricky walking to him, screaming at the top of my lungs, man, trying to get Ricky's attention. He finally turned around and he waved like this. He just gave me a nice little hand. I was like, that's my guy.
Ricky had that moment.
Yeah, we had a moment, and then now it's like, hey, what's up, Ricky? All right, cool.
Yeah, right.
So
but you never forget that moment. You never forget that moment, man. And it still came Ricky Henderson. Man, I saw Ricky Henderson I was just jogging up in the mountains, up in the hills somewhere, man, with some of my friends. I might have been about 19 or something like that. And he just pulled up like something to a stop sign. I mean, when I was like, man, that's Ricky Henderson. Man, I'm 19 years old. I'm trying to chase this Escalade down in the hills, man. Like, man, and I consider myself to be a cool brother, man. I'm not chasing nobody
Right.
down. I'm full out sprinting, Ricky. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Boys in the Hood. I'm dashing after. I'm like, we ain't gonna give me this opportunity again. You know what I'm saying? 9-3, 9, man. Now yelled out his stats. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Boys, man, what's wrong? I'm like, man, that was Ricky Henderson, man.
Right, man. I'm telling you.
You know what I'm saying?
These kids don't know
Man.
today, man. They don't know how good
Man,
we had it.
great, man. We had it great, man.
We did. So what do we do to make sure today's athletes, you know, especially the ones from here, right, or that play here? I mean, you see it a lot. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, you see it a lot with the Warriors. I mean, everybody, you know, kind of knows the Warrior players, you know, a lot of the Niners, you know, et cetera, so on and so forth. How do we make sure that we get the A's players, you know, and an organization in the community like it was once before, at least from the standpoint of, you know, that name recognition and folks understanding that, you know, they represent not only the team but the town, right? Like, how do you think we can champion that moving forward?
I mean, I think we need to start doing. I mean, and mind you, I'm sure you guys probably do this, but I see it to be more simple than I see it being complicated. Is we need to bring the kids closer to the game, bring them closer to the. I remember what it was like to have bleacher seats and be in the bleachers, but I also remember what it was like to look up one day and to be sitting right behind the catcher. It was a different feeling, you know what I'm saying? So I feel we need to bring the kids, and then we need to bring the players into the community, like really just right and get to know them, because you know the A's is, as long as I've been, you know, a fan. I mean, really 95 to now, really it's been a team that's a team. You know, we get big players, and when those players get big, they go and hit, you know, 30-something home runs, still 30 bases, and then they get shipped off, right? And so that's what was more so about, is like, how do we make these players think it's on the field? I think that you bring them into the community. Right. You bring them into the community, and so that these players, so that the community can get to know them outside of the stadium, where a lot of kids don't have an opportunity to really be in the stadium and really get to know them. How are you going to get to know them? Right. The only other way is to bring them into the community, to hold them accountable, and to you know, to give them opportunity to work with these kids in the community, and not just in camps. These kids, a lot of kids don't want to play baseball, especially in the inner city. A lot of my kids don't want to play baseball. I play baseball, but times have changed. You know what I'm saying? Like, kids don't want to play baseball. So how can you relate to them? And I think that you really just need to bring them into the community. It's the only way to really, like with the A's, man. I mean, it's like, even now when I look at the roster, I'm having to keep up and having to look up who players are and who's who. Right. I mean, that's just the way that it is. It's what we're working with. So what we're working with, and what you know and what you don't know about certain players, the ways to get to know them is by bringing them into the community. It's a lot easier actually to bring them into the community than it is to bring kids that necessarily probably aren't even that don't aren't into baseball, to bring them into the stadium. You know what I'm saying? Once they get into the stadium, they're like, oh yeah, this is different. But in baseball, and that's not your thing, then there's really no way to inspire them. They can't be on the field with the players, and the players have a job to do on the field. So I feel like they need a job to do outside of the field, and they need to bring them into the community where the kids can get to know them and can inspire them outside.
100%, man. So conversations like this help make sure that message is being heard. So I appreciate you for sharing that. So when we look at the team and the community collectively, if you were going to do, let's say, a campaign, or you were going to do a spot, you know, about the A's, how would you storyboard the culture of our times, as well as the past, the present, and future? What would you be telling? What would be your storyboard for our organization, and how would you get that message out? Like, what would you use as inspiration? Because you sent me something a while ago that I thought was
I would probably hold on. Let me tell you what I do. I would probably I love characters, right? I love making characters. Taking a character that knows everything, seen everything, felt everything, right? And that can compare and contrast the past to the present. That's the only person that can tell us what we need to do moving forward to get back to our championship ways and our championship time, right? This person would be a person that's been secretly living in the crevices of, in the corners and the cracks of the Oakland Coliseum, day in and day out. You know what I'm saying? Day in and day out, he's writing on this huge wall inside of the stadium. You know, all the different stats, all the different players, what and how it happened. He has dates for everything, and this is telling us, or this person is telling us, giving us the information to what needs to happen for us to get back to our champion status. And he's energetic like a fan, but he's a fan. He's a historian. And this historian, like all historians from even from our culture, that tell us, you know, where we've been, what happened with us systematically, and where we need to go, right? The oppression that we faced, all the way going back all the way to slavery, and how it was a ripple effect. You know what I mean? It's like historians tell the best stories. They tell it with the best energy. They tell it because they have all the knowledge, right? When I say a historian, I'm talking about like you know, I'm talking about like a great test when it comes from the person that was there, that's seen it all, not just read it all, not memorized it all, but seen it all. And that's no disrespect to people that are educators, that are young, that have educated themselves or been educated about the past, but a person that's still there, still has the mind, the sharp mind, still has the heart, and and holds the truth. And that person would tell everything that happened starting from 1989, right? Last time we won a World Series, right? When we beat the Giants, Battle of the Bay, and all the way until now, right? And then he would story not just of the team, but he would tell a story of a city was going through these things in 1990 when we lost to the Rays, and how we've been battling back ever since, and what we've had to defend the stadium and outside the stadium. And we would refer to the park home runs being inside the park home runs, relating to things that we did, things that we did when we came to in the community. Then you talk about this, you know, and then this would be related to gentrification. You know, and it would be a whole entire story. It would be a whole entire story of what happened. Let's see, grandma. Story of what happened in the stadium and outside the stadium, but using baseball and using the history of the A's to kind of relate to what was happening on the outside of the stadium. Because the A's are the only baseball team that I know of. This is city thing. It's A's are the only the last remaining team.
Right.
Because the A's, though it may not be the most popular team, it's still the heart of the city. Because they're the ones that they're the ones that you know, saying that was this will this be like the third time the stadium was rebuilt?
Yeah.
Like the third time. I remember when there was no big bleachers,
right.
And there was no big A's up there. I remember when it was low and it looked like the Dodger Stadium. I remember because my stepfather worked on it. You know what I'm saying? He worked on the stadium. He was proud of it. And now we're going through another rebuild. We're constantly doing things to keep our team there, even if you don't know the players.
Right.
Because it's not about that. This baseball team isn't about that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's about keeping something at home and keeping something there that's professional and that's still inside the MLB where we can look up to, and our children can look up to, so that we can build things around it. Maybe they're not meant to win a World Series right now. Maybe that's not what it's about right now, to be honest with you.
I love that concept, and I want to put you in touch with Tanya, who runs marketing for us, Dave, and we really should think come to life, man, because I think the parallel described, you know, I loved it. I loved when you initially told me about it, and I love it even now, because the timing is like we need to really connect as much tissue as possible together to really edify, you know, the community, the culture, the zeitgeist, race, you know, creed, color, socioeconomic class. All these are just stacked on top of each other right now, and series, because we want to make sure subjects to light and help change not only the narrative, but help change the actions, right? And the outcomes. So I want to leave you with this. We have a website that we've dedicated specific to this topic. It's athletics.com/BLM. And I'm gonna give the viewers of our slate of guests. We have Mayor Libby Schaff. She's gonna be our guest next,
Nice.
followed by Alicia Garza from Black Lives Matter. She's gonna be a guest coming up. We're interviewing Barbara Lee, Congresswoman from Oakland, in a few weeks. So, if you got any words of wisdom or things you'd like as a final thought, and those people who we have soon, what would you have for them? What would you? What are your messages?
That I would just say, just to be unafraid, to be unafraid about telling the truth. So the truth is sometimes it's hard to say. It's hard to say. It's hard to say, and it's hard, but just to be honest about it.
Yeah.
To be honest about it, and to at the same time to just understand that we're on our way. We're making positive steps. It's still early in getting to where we want to go. It seems like it can feel like we should already be there, but still very, very early. It wasn't that long ago that Rosa Parks was just sitting on the front of the bus and had to fight to not sit on the back of the bus. That wasn't that long ago. Like my mother was alive. You know what I mean? That wasn't that long. So we still have a long way to go, and it's just going to take honesty. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but inside of that hard work, like it's going to be a lot of great moments. I feel like there's been a lot of great moments already, and speak about Oakland. Speak about Oakland, because I feel like Oakland, of all cities in history, in the people will look back at Oakland as one of the greatest cities in the world. Really do believe it. I feel like our grandsons and granddaughters and their grandsons and granddaughters look at Oakland as being of strength, the mecca of black people, the mecca of being unafraid, and not just being unafraid, but but moving past that fear to make change. It can be scary sometimes.
That's what's up.
It can be scary sometimes, but we have to continue. We have to continue, and we have to bring it as close to the forefront as possible. So,
man, you got me pumped up.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Oakland. I love you. Thank you so much for everything, and I'll continue to do my part.
Man, you got me pumped, Taj. You got me pumped, and it's been a pleasure and an honor. And I'm serious. I'm gonna put this on wax right now. I want to work with you. I want you to help document my story too. We've seen Boomerang, with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
That was like my favorite movie growing up, because at the time I was trying to aspire to work in advertising and, be an advertising executive and, live that whole lifestyle with the loft. I had the loft downtown LA, across from Staples Center, like Marcus Graham, all that. So man, I feel like now story of the ascension, the Black professional, right? The Black athlete, the Black creator, right? And, I need your help. I need your help to make that come to life, man. And this is part of that story now, your background, your experience, your name.
Our name, man. Our name. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, I want to thank you for doing your part in making Taj, because speaking of Taj, speaking of me, or thank you for making that name, man. Like making me proud. I check you out. I'm like, what's Taj doing over there, man? You know what I'm saying? Okay, still always, still do your thing. Invitation, people are like, you two really need to talk. You should really. It'll happen, and it's not a coincidence that our face to face in our first, conversation that's of this length, and of this importance, this level of importance, it would be now. And I'm happy that it gets to be this conversation versus what the world can hear.
So it's a blessing.
I'm really proud of that. And God is good, man.
And God is good, brother. No, I appreciate you, man. So we'll be in touch soon. We need you here to help tell these stories. We need your ear, we need your eye, we need your words, brothers. So it was an honor, man, to talk to you today.
Absolutely.
And you know, it's
Absolutely.
just the first of many conversations.
Likewise. Love you.
All right, my brother. Peace.
Later.
Love. All right. Cheers.